Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. Today, I want to go over the different types of character letters and the importance, how important they really are. So, your character letters, these are letters that attest to your character. And so they're not going to be letters where people say that, either that you don't belong in prison, you shouldn't go to prison, but they should be letters that just kind of talk about you. And so there are five types of letters that I'm going to discuss with you. But to be frank, candid with you, I had a sentence, a felony conviction about 20 years ago. I didn't know any of this. And yet I still had colleagues, physician colleagues of mine, that wrote letters to the judge that I knew nothing about. And they were, they irritated the FBI, but they were truthful and they, I believe they really helped me in the long run. But I digress. And so let me straighten up my glasses. So in telling that in talking to the judge, they can start to let her out, Your Honor, dear judge, if they know the name. If they come from a person, they can sign the letter, but they shouldn't put any information on there, no address, no phone number. If they're coming from a business, it's okay to have their name and phone number on the letter. And so they identify themselves and that they say that they've known you for a long period of time. They understand that you have a felony conviction. They know that you potentially could be going to prison. They could be a friend, a relative, a romantic partner, a spouse. Um, but specifically, how long they've known you and, what they know about you. Is this out of character? Or, is it something where, that you did this because, you were pressed into it, or not that you had to, not an excuse, um, but that you've known this person a long time since childhood or through college or through work or however long you've known them and all the good deeds that you've done. You can tell facts about the person's character, the obstacles, that they've had, or the role in the family, if there's a relationship with children, with spouses, again, whether they've acknowledged at least, within the confines of their relationships, if they've realized that they really committed a problem, they committed, that they're guilty, that they realized that what they did was wrong, and that you believe that they're not going to do this again, they're not going to reoffend. And so you want to, state your honest opinion of, what they're going to do, once they get out of prison, that they're not going to be going back, that you're going to be doing your utmost to help them get back on their feet. This is especially if you're part of a support structure where, they may come back to live with you as part of the family, or a friend or a relative, where you'll be looking out for them and helping them get employment, insurance, get back on their feet. If they're able to go ahead and give, anecdotes, what do I mean? If you've known the person long enough, maybe when they were a preteen, that they would shovel snow off your driveway or mow your lawn or help with groceries, or older if they volunteered in the community at some time, or if they're a member of the church or volunteered in the church or synagogue or mosque, or what have you, or in school, or if they've coached kids, whatever they've done in the community to volunteer. All of this helps build a more three-dimensional picture to the judge, which is important. Lastly, and these are great letters, not to belittle the others, but if you know someone who has known you or known the person for a long period of time, and they're willing to say that they know that they're going to be going to prison, and the person has a business, which it means that it can be on the business letterhead, it can have their name, address, phone number, and they say nobody has a crystal ball as to where the business community is going to be at by the time this individual is going to be released, but you are more than willing to go ahead and give them a job if you can, if a position is available once they're released. You trust them, you understand their skills. You would be willing to pay them a high minimum wage. You're available, at all the hours that the business is open, that, probation or a person from the courts could stop by to interview you. They can call ahead of time. You're available by phone. If in fact the courts give permission for him to work there or her to work there, that they would be, at this location, at this address all the time. And so, he or she would be making this amount of money. So you've pretty much answered a lot of questions for the courts just in this particular character letter. And by that, I mean, is that there's really a full court press on by the Trump administration and the new director of the Bureau of Prisons. We are now in the latter third or latter quarter of October. It's October 19, 2025. And the new director of the Federal Bureau of Prison, William Marshall, is really trying to get the First Step Act, Second Chance Act, those earned time credits stacked so that people who are eligible can be eligible, for early release to home confinement, again, if they're eligible. And while you don't have, it's not a requirement for you to have a job, it sure cannot hurt for you to have these letters in your file. And what do I mean by in your file? By having these letters in included in with your narrative, which I'll go into at another time, but all prepared before you get to your pre-sentence interview so your judge can see them. I mean, the purpose of this is to impact the court. And the best way to impact the court is to have them included in your pre-sentence report so that it makes it to the judge so that they're able to see what you've done with your life above and beyond your charges. And so now I'm going to try and share the screen with you so that you can see what I've been reading off of these particular notes. So bear with me while I try and get to this. And I'm going to share the screen. We're going to share here and that. And here we go. And let me bring this screen up a little bit. And so starting with, you don't want to make any recommendations to the court. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. I don't know if it'll work. You want to start with your letter, attest it to your character, and it can start with dear judge. Again, if it's a letter that is from a person, you don't want to, you can put your name on it, and that's it. Second, you want to identify yourself and explain who you are, how you know the defendant, your name is, and the best character letters begin with a letter explaining who you are and what you do. What you are you in school, a student? Do you have a business? Are you a relative? You should explain how long you've known and under what circumstances you've known the defendant. The person, for example, is a relative, a romantic partner, a friend, former employee, or a coworker. More specificity can explain how you met them and how well you feel you know him or her. Your letter will carry more weight with the judge if you explain exactly how you've been able to form an impression about this person. For example, because you've worked with him or her for several years and you've known them since childhood. Going on, you can tell the facts about the defendant. Give your frank opinion about the person's character. You might want to discuss the defendant's childhood, the obstacles he or she has faced in their work history, in their role as a family, in their family, his or her relationship with their parents, their children, spouses, his or her health issues, substance abuse, in their support structure available to the defendant upon release, and his or her plans for the future. Anything that you could contribute that will help, especially if it's you going to be helping keep them on the straight and narrow. You might want to talk about whether the defendant has expressed remorse for their actions and whether you believe they will reoffend. You could be most effective in expressing yourself in the letter, not only to state your opinion, but also you explain why you hold that opinion. It's often helpful to give specific examples of things the person has done and the ways he or she has handled the difficult situations that have led you to this outcome. Anecdotal can always help. This can provide the judge with a lot of insight into who the defendant is. Don't be afraid to tell your favorite stories about the defendant. Describe your fondest memories of your interactions with him or her. And as I said, volunteering with the church, school, help with groceries, other things. Job offers, it makes this a it makes it a great letter. And so with that, in summarizing, the character letters are very important. You need to start asking for them as soon as you can because people have other things going on in their life. And as soon as you get them, you don't want to start feeding them to your attorney right away. But when you have all the information available, you can go to my website and send everything, your personal narrative, release plan, all of the character letters, go through them with the attorney before you and your counsel decide which to use. But a job referral letter is a great letter. A support letter from someone who is willing to accept you into their home upon release is a great letter. Judges want to see this. They want to know that you're not going to come back to their courtroom. What's going to give them that good feeling, that warm and fuzzy feeling, is knowing that, one, you have employment, and two, you're going into a home where the people there have love for you, are going to help you, and are going to keep you on the straight and narrow. I hope you found this helpful, and I thank you for listening. Have a good day.